Hello everyone, this is your former box officer Scott. Yes, you've probably noticed I haven't done one of those in a while, but this time it's Hyperbole. It is back, mostly because of the one I want to talk about next, because I didn't even do this one yet, so let's get it out of the way. About a week ago, I got out of The Magnificent Seven. Yes, the new one. Also, my name is Scott. I somehow skipped that. Magnificent Seven, the remake by Antoine Fuqua. Incredible looking movie considering what it is. Antoine Fuqua did Training Day, which I've never seen. I know, blasphemy. But also King Arthur. He didn't do End of Watch, but he had a hand in that. And like 5 other movies where you're like, he did that too? Guy's crazy prolific. It's kind of awesome. And now he's done a Western, which looks almost like a buddy cop comedy action movie. What? Yeah. So, Magnificent Seven. I'll preface the whole thing by saying I hadn't seen the first one, I thought, until the Sunday before the Tuesday when I went and saw this. This is back from October 4th, August 4th. I had seen it, I'm pretty sure, for the most part. Like, I remember I was watching it having like flashbacks of scenes, but there's common scenes in that. Like, some of them are really iconic, so it's not really surprising to think I've seen this or I've heard this for the music. But when I really came down to it, I'm pretty sure I had seen it before, but it was that not memorable from when I saw it. It holds up. It's good. It's a simple baseline concept. Of course, a remake of Seven Samurai. Yul Brynner's awesome. Some of the cast is very stagey. It's 1960, so it does have some old sensibilities. But, I mean, I find Patton has problems with that, and that's from 1970. And that still has some, like, broad stage type issues. This one even more so, and yet somehow this movie from 1960 holds up today in 2016. So that's pretty incredible. And then they remade it. So, here's part 1 of that. If you go back and find my old Hyperbole of RoboCop, the remake, you'll know that I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. And it's the remake argument. When you have a bad movie and you go to remake it, people say, why are you remaking that? The best example of that is probably Judge Dredd and Dredd. Now, yes, no, it's not a remake, but they made a Judge Dredd movie and people didn't like it. I reviewed it, but the general consensus is that movie sucked, okay? The reaction to a new Dredd was, what? Another one? Why? Didn't you know what happened the first time? And that's the big argument is, we know what happened here. We're going to do it like this now. Or we're going to try it this way. Or we're going to make it 20 years later and have different abilities and stuff like that, okay? So that's the argument for remaking a bad movie. Even though, yes, I know Dredd and Judge Dredd aren't remakes of each other, but you get the idea. The other is remaking a good movie. People loved the original Total Recall for what it is. It's a glorious Arnold action fest from 1990. Len Wiseman remade it with Colin Farrell in the mid-2010s. No one was really asking for it. To remake that movie is a bit crazy in ways, and yet I really enjoyed it because they went a whole different way with it. Same with RoboCop. It's what it is and of the era, so if you're going to do it again, why? Well, both those movies, you're doing it differently. You're taking baseline elements and telling it in a different way, or in a different sensibility for an audience a generation later. And I'm talking stuff from like 80s and 90s in today's sensibilities. So that's the spread we're talking here. Magnificent Seven is a Western. And a remake of that, it's a cherished, heralded Western, okay? So to remake that was like, what are you doing? And yet, the movie's from 1960. This is 2016. We're talking 56 years. That's literally a generation. An actual one. So to redo it, okay, I see no problem with that, especially with the filmmaking techniques that have evolved in the past 56 years. Okay? Now, the baseline idea is you've got the same idea story-wise. Kind of. First off, it's not in Mexico. The original movie has these Mexicans getting assaulted by this gang, and they go hire some hired guns to come south of the border and defend it. They have to train them up, fight them off, things happen, good guy, bad guy conflict. The new one basically has this land baron who wants to take over the whole town, and if he doesn't buy you out, he's going to kill you, and they have nothing to do and nowhere to go, much like the Mexicans. It's like just some little town, American town, and they want revenge. They don't want to just defend their families and homes. Some of their family got killed or assaulted, so they want to defend that. So they go out and hire guns. And it's much the same idea. They hire the Man in Black. It was Yul Brynner in the one. Now it's Denzel Washington. Excuse me. And it's Denzel Washington, who's never done a Western, and he's incredible in this. He's Denzel. He can do this with his eyes closed. That's not a bad thing. He's kind of cool as this steely, no-nonsense, law-abiding bounty hunter, warrant officer. He's awesome in this. He's great. And you like him. He's likable as this guy. And he's all in black like Yul Brynner. So, I gotcha. He's not named Chris either. He's Sam Chisholm. Different name. So, like, literally, the look is the same, but they changed it. He groups up some guys. In the original Magnificent Seven, he ends up finding people he knows. An old friend, a guy who helped him out in a situation, this kind of legendary guy known for stuff but is a bit skittish, a knife dude who's like a real old friend, okay, and like some kid. The new one, well, he ends up with a guy who helps in a situation, completely different situation, but he's got that guy. They've got the knife guy, but he rides with the kind of skittish guy. They're a two-part thing. And the skittish guy's like a Confederate soldier. It was opposite of Denzel. He was a black guy in the West, right? You've got the knife guy is actually, I can't remember what he's been in, but I don't even remember if he's Korean, but you've seen this kind of guy before. Martial arts dude, so okay. The guy who helps him out is Chris Pratt, being Chris Pratt, which means awesome. His Star-Lord performance has opened all the doors. He's incredible in this. He's fun in Jurassic World. Looks great in Passengers, so Chris Pratt nails this, knocks it out of the park. His interplay with everybody is fantastic. I know Chris Stuckman talked about it where he said he was a bit too Chris Pratt at times, but that works. It does. The other group, like he ends up going after a warrant because he knows of a guy, and he's like, hey, I can make this warrant go away if you help out. So that's right. Like, he's got a contact. Who is it? I don't know. Some dude worth hunting. If you help out, I won't hunt you. And there's a legendary guy played by D'Onofrio who people are saying is kind of weird, but it works. The entire cast is fantastic in this. You've got Ethan Hawke, you've got Denzel Washington, you got Vincent D'Onofrio. Haley Bennett is the new Alicia Vikander in that she's in Hardcore Henry. She's the blonde wife. You've got her in Girl from the Train, which just came out this weekend. She's the girl from the train. And she's in this, and with the reddest of red hair, and is kind of a Jennifer Lawrence clone. She similar like eye structure and face. It's weird. They're starting to clone the actors young. They're not waiting until they're older now. It's odd. But they're all incredible. They're all great. They're all believable. You buy in. And the Western cinematography is fantastic. It's huge. It's big. And yet it's very much a buddy comedy in that sense of these guys are just kind of like, yeah, we're good. You suck. And then they bring in more guys. Yeah, well, you all suck too. We're that good. And that's a cool thing with a Western. So this movie, it was a lot of fun. I refuse to go any further into story stuff from there because there's some cool stuff. There is a thing that they do at the end, and I'm like, where they Skyfall it, where everything's connected. You don't need to do that. Don't do that. And I've not spoiled anything because there's 7 guys. Maybe something's in there with something else. Who knows? It's not needed at all. Bad guy's kind of weak too. He reminded me of a bit of Willem Dafoe with John Malkovich, but the worst of both. I don't buy it. He's this land baron guy who's throwing his weight around to farmers. But you can just tell he's the kind of guy that when he gets into a real bad situation, he's going to get his ass kicked. And just by hiring Denzel and 7 guys all together, that's a bad situation. He's going to get his ass kicked. You kind of know it. There's no tension. You're just like, yeah, it's going to happen. You don't even need to know what the story is of the original to know it. It's just bad. And the original doesn't have this guy. It's got like this gang leader dude who's actually pretty crazy badass. It's Tuco from Good, the Bad, the Ugly playing that original part. So, yeah. Overall, though, this movie is a lot of fun. Absolutely recommend it. I do want to pick up the Blu-ray probably. I do buy most movies I enjoy, but that is definitely one I want to get because it's it's probably worth rewatching for some stuff, just for some of the action. It's got the stereotypical gunfighting Western action, and yet it's done in a very modern way, but classic at the same time. So it's gunfights with some stuff that I've never seen in a Western gunfight, but I've seen in more of an urban style movie of a gunfight, which Fuqua's done. He brought that to this, and it worked. It didn't seem out of place. It almost, like, being aware of, like, oh, that almost caught me off guard, but it really worked overall. And there's some cool stunt work and some cool stuff. It's really a lot of fun. So overall, I will never do numbered reviews for movies, because if I give this an 8, but I give something else an 8, they're very different 8s. So as far as I'm concerned for my movie scale, excuse me, but trying to figure out a good one for this, and the idea I always say is, did I regret seeing it? Absolutely not. Did I need to see it in the theater? I think so. It's a theater movie because it is a big Western. I always am a big proponent of that, to see a movie like that on a big screen. Granted, people have big TV screens, so that's only going so far. Is it absolutely worth seeing while in theaters? Yeah, I think this is a good one for a cheap night, or even a full price. If you're interested, absolutely go. It's an easy recommendation for that. If you like Denzel's movies, if you like Pratt's movies, if you like D'Onofrio from Kingpin and Daredevil, if you like Fuqua, if you like Westerns, if you like action, there's no harm in any of that being a problem. So that is the Magnificent Seven, the 2016 version that is, and a little bit of the 1960. As always, like, favorite, and subscribe. I am trying to get this back on track. Matt Zion of Reckless Eating, and I'm on Zion Mainframe Gaming as well, has been saying, do more reviews, what's going on, do more. Well, I do want to do more of these. Like, I want to review stuff like Magnificent Seven. I want to review all these other movies I haven't seen that I want to talk about and actually bring them in. So if it's GPCs or just straight up stuff here, I want to do it, and I'm going to do it, because I can't not talk about movies, as you can probably tell. So there's another one I'm about to shoot coming up. It's a one-night-only movie, so that's going to be interesting. Like, favorite, subscribe. It is Cyclops Scott here on YouTube. It is over on Twitter as well. Almost screwed that one up. Facebook, it is Guilty Pleasure Cinema, and it's .com as well for that. That is horribly out of date, so follow on the other stuff. I am going to be upgrading that with some archive that I'm still working on, but that's not priority. Getting on track is, as well as a movie I want to work on. But that's another thing. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.